Hey, what's up, everybody? Time for another game theory video. If you like the videos, like, subs, silly comment, share, support the channel. If you can, I appreciate it. Thanks. Super like, super chat, whatever. It does help the channel. Thank you. Today I want to do another video about your meter versus my meter. And just because I've saw this posted again, not every game is your meter versus my meter. Okay? That's not how fucking fighting games work. So, game theory discussion, and we'll even talk about undernight in birth, which I know absolutely nothing about. So feel free in the comments to talk to me about undernight in birth, because I don't know shit about the game. I know like a very small percentage. So we see games like, I've seen people say that Street Fighter 6, although of course now they agree with me that Street Fighter 6 is sort of my meter versus your meter. They'll say that undernight in birth is also a your meter versus my meter, whatever, a tug of war. I would like to clarify this a little bit though, but let's do a little history of fighting games, shall we? Let's look at a game like Super Turbo, right? Easily the first super meter in Street Fighter. We can already see that Super Turbo, however, is not a your meter versus my meter. We can already see the argument when people said that I was going to be wrong about Street Fighter 6. And they're like, oh, every game's going is your, or well, actually, after I was proven right, they then said, oh, well, every game is your meter versus my meter, which is not true, because even in a game like Super Turbo, supers are different. Not every character has the same super. Picking new Ryu and or old Ryu is both viable in tournaments. Not every character even needs to have access to the meter to be competitively viable, right? So obviously we can already see Super Turbo is not a case of your meter versus my meter, right? Again, an extraordinary game if you think about how long it's lasted. A game like Street Fighter Alpha, which we'll compare to Street Fighter Alpha 2, a terribly made game. Street Fighter Alpha, we got 3 supers, right? But Street Fighter Alpha is not a your meter versus my meter because the game is not homogenized, right? The game has not homogenized how the meter is used. And let's show this, right? So we have, we'll use some examples here, right? Ryu has a super fireball, very fast in this game, high damage, right? Not much invincibility, but unblockable if the guy is not blocking before, you know, the screen freeze, whatever. Then we have the super hurricane kick, super high damage, slower, not unblockable if you're not blocking before, but safe on block, does a lot of chip damage, right? These both are versatile usages of his meter, right? They don't have the same thing. And just like every character in the game has a different super, that some supers are better for certain situations, right? Also, let's take a look at how alpha counters work in this game. Remember, alpha counters in the original Street Fighter Alpha, you only have one alpha counter, right? So let's say if we were to compare a character like Ryu versus Akuma in this game. Now, for the most part, you might say, oh, fuck, I like Akuma's alpha counter because it's fast, it's safe on block, right? And the only way to counter it is if you were to actually bait, let's say, the alpha counter, right? You're to try to like DP in between it or whatever you want to do, or super in between it, whatever, right? Whereas a super like, or an alpha counter like Ryu's Dragon Punch, more invincibility, but, you know, slower, not safe on block. However, look at what I just showed here with the supers right here. If we were in a situation where Ryu is going for a chip kill, right? Guess what is probably the better alpha counter to have if you miss the reversal? Guess what? Whereas Akuma's alpha counter is generally better for many situations, this would be a situation where if you have the meter, you would want an alpha counter like Ryu's, right? Instead of Akuma's. Even though Akuma and say Guy and say Dan, right, they might have a better alpha counter for these other situations. Because not everyone is so homogenized in this game, we can see that certain alpha counters are better for certain situations. Just like certain supers are better for certain situations, right? Man, I feel like my English is really getting bad. I've been so fucking sick and in the hospital so many times, right? Let's look at a game like Alpha 2, where Alpha 2 is a game where you can start to see it really is your meter versus my meter. And why is this? Well, let's look at this, right? We still have, Ryu still has his Super Fireball and Super Hurricane Kick. However, let's remember, Super Fireball is very slow in this game. You're not super fireballing, you know, full screen people anymore, winning Fireball Wars with it, right? Not as much damage, anything like that. Super Hurricane Kick doesn't give you the same advantage it used to anymore, right? These supers are not as versatile as they used to be. Or even I say versatile, they're not as usable even in the form they're in, right? However, what did Alpha 2 add? It added custom combos. And guess what? You know what custom combos do? Custom combos, they do more damage than a super hurricane kick, and they're safe. They do more block damage. Oh, they're also unblockable if you're not blocking before the screen freeze, right? They can also blow through a fucking fireball if you time it correctly, right? Also, we've now given Ryu, now, although Ryu did not normally have an anti-air super in this game, like the Shinjo, right? You know what I mean? Now, guess what? Technically, whereas Guy has an anti-air super, well, guess what? Now, technically, Ryu has an anti-air super in this game because he can just use custom combo. Custom combo is so versatile, it gives everybody access to the best move in the game, right? Everybody has the best move in the game for every situation now in Alpha 2. Just like Alpha counters. Well, guess what? Just where we showed these situations before, even if custom combos were to not exist or something like that, guess what? Now every character has 2 alpha counters. And there is always a best alpha counter to do in a certain situation, right? You don't fall into these situations where like, oh, fuck, if I was this character, this would have been a good alpha counter here. Guess what Alpha 2 does? Every character has like an alpha counter that they can use for the situation. Homogenized. Every character, it starts to become a tug of war between meter because we're all using meter the same way. In a game like Alpha 1, we can't use meter the same way because our supers are specific for a situation. Everyone does not have the same super. Alpha 2, everyone has the same super from a certain perspective, right? If we're to look at a game like Guilty Gear XX versus Guilty Gear Strive, well, guess what? Everyone has FD, right? Okay, we know that. Everyone can Roman cancel, but guess what? Roman cancel is inherently tied to the character's tool set, right? Because Roman cancel is inherently tied to the special moves and just the normals, characters have unique normals and unique special moves. They do not all function the same. FRCs are special and unique to the character. Whereas if we get to a game like Guilty Gear Strive, guess what? We have is it called Drift FRC? I don't know. Drift FRC? Is that what the fuck it's called? It's been so long since I played Strive. I don't remember. Drift FRC, right? Purple FRC? I don't fucking remember. It's been a long time since I've played the game. But whatever the case, everyone can use, although it's kind of fun in its own way, and there's certain fun baits. Oh, I drifted back and forth, blah, blah. Guess what? Everyone can use it in the same way. It's not necessarily inherently unique. You don't have unique FRCs anymore, right? Do you get what I'm getting? Yes, there's still a little bit of like, of course, you can FRC my special here, blah, blah, blah. But you don't have that sort of FRC mind game, right? Just like they purposely wanted supers to generally be used to break the wall. You've given them a generic homogenized purpose, which I've always said one of the problems I think of a game like Guilty Gear is supers are not as useful as they could be, right? Because the game just is, the versatile usages of meters just so, with FRCs and FDs, supers are just not a thing that you just don't see enough, I don't think, in Guilty Gear. But anyway, now if we get to a game like Street Fighter 6, and why I said right from the get-go, I'm like, Street Fighter 6 is going to be my meter versus your meter. Why is this? Well, guess what? Right when people are talking about, oh, we have drive impact, right? Well, drive impact, people are saying you're going to be able to throw it. People are going to start jumping it. And I'm like, no, that's not how the game works. You guys are fucking idiots. Because guess what? The main way to beat drive impact, drive impact, guess what? Is drive impact uses one of your green bars, is to use one of your green bars to drive impact it as well. Or your EX meter, your EXDP, whatever it is, right? Tug of war. We're both using the meter the same way. Oh, guess what? Every move is so specifically made in the game that, oh, this is minus this is plus this. Oh, everyone now seemingly has an overhead. Oh, well, guess what? Oh, we all low forward to drive rush. Guess what? That's everyone using 2 bars the same way. Do you get what I'm getting at? Just like I said, EX moves are terrible for fucking video games, right? EX moves suck. I understand that every fucking fighting game has to be different. So having one game that has EX moves, okay, every game has to be different. But guess what? Street Fighter 6, Street Fighter 5, all these games, guess what EX moves do? EX moves for so long, they basically just generally give you the purpose of the move that it originally had. You know what I mean? Oh, Dragon Punches used to be completely invincible. Oh, well, now you use EX meter to do it. Oh, I have the original use. You have things that become no longer unique. Oh, well, EX fireballs. Now everyone can win a fireball war, right? It's homogenizing the game. Oh, you want to do an extra juggle in your combo? Oh, well, you use a drive meter. Oh, well, I use a drive meter, right? The moves may have a different, I don't know what is Luke's Dragon Punch name? Jobber Punch. Jobber Punch. What's the difference between Jobber Punch and Dragon Punch, right? Right? Everyone is using the meter for the same fucking purpose in the game, dude. Right? It's homogenized. Tug of war, my meter versus your meter. Oh, well, I'm thinking about saving 1 meter here because maybe you're going to want to do this here, blah, blah, blah. What did I say I was going to feel is one of the problems of the game? I was like, I like that there's 2 different meters for super. And I like that there's a versatile meter. I like that the versatile meter is separate from the super meter because that is a problem that happens in Guilty Gear, like I said before. Supers are not special enough in Guilty Gear because versatile options are just so powerful in Guilty Gear, right? So I think it's a good idea to have versatile options put on 1 meter and your supers on another meter so there's always a reason to use the super so it feels special. But guess what did I say? I said one of the problems that I fear for Street Fighter 6 is that supers were generally going to be combo fodder. And guess what? That's what they are. Most people, doesn't matter the super they do. Even though they have different animations, guess what? You're still just generally doing the super as a fucking combo ender. Yes, I know there's Guile super. Yes, I know there's Blanca super. Yes, I know there's a JP super. Okay, there's a couple supers in the game. Oh, jury. Okay. These are the exception to the rule, right? And even with those characters, generally speaking, supers are just combo fodder. Guess what? Even in a ghetto game like Alpha 1, supers just aren't combo fodder. Supers have different usages for different situations, right? Not Street Fighter 6, though. Street Fighter 6, almost everyone just saves their meter for a combo ender, right? It's terrible. On the off chance, and I said it's one of the only new things that Street Fighter 6 adds that I like, is there is the perspective of if you have a, I guess you could have 1, 2, or 3 supers, whatever. But if you only got 1 green bar and you don't want to be put into burnout, you will see people. They'll be like, I will waste my level 1 to get that super, to be invincible because I don't want to go into burnout, right? That is an interesting perspective that Street Fighter 6 adds. That's a little bit of mind game there that is not in other games. And I also like, to be honest, I actually liked how dizzies work in Street Fighter 6. I don't think every game should have it because every game has to be different. But I like the idea of if the guy's burnt out, you can drive impact them. And if they hit the wall, they bounce off and they're dizzy. It's kind of cute. It's fun. It's different. I don't mind things being different if they make sense, right? So that's okay. It's fun. Being burnt out, it's okay. But in general, even the good things about Street Fighter 6 are they're just, like I said, it's funny that you have a game where every character is supposed to be so completely different in Street Fighter 6, and yet they are a slave to the system, right? Because everyone uses the system in the same way because the game is so homogenized. The way that you poke, I've said it before, it used to be special. When a character had pokes that could hit you ducking, that was special. Not in Street Fighter 6 anymore because everyone seemingly generally pokes the same way, right? Just like Guilty Gear Strive. Characters are a slave to the system. Even though I said Guilty Gear Strive, guess what? I was like, the characters are going to be the best thing about this game. They're going to be unique because you can tell they can still make interesting characters, but they're going to try to focus on the system. And I'm like, the wall is not that great. The wall is not some big brain, galaxy brain thing. And the Drift FRC, purple FRC, whatever the fuck it's called, is not that big brain either. And it actually kind of homogenizes them because every characters are going to kind of use it the same way. And you're like, well, Clayton, what about the fucking Undernight and Birth? Well, I don't play it, so I don't know. I know a little bit about the it says grind system, grind grid. Oh, is that what it's called? Oh, geez, fuck me. I didn't know it was called grind grid. Grind grid. Well, the grind grid system. I just heard people say grid. Is that the real name? Grid grind? Grid grind? Grinder? The grinder system you know. The grinder system, I know there's a bit of a tug of war, in the system, but does everyone, once they have the meter, use meter the same way? I don't know. That would be my question in Undernight and Birth. Are Dragon Punches only invincible if you're whatever, this kind of shit? I don't know enough about the game, but for sure, definitely Street Fighter 6. Just it's a tug of war between my meter and your meter. It's like a card game. Everyone has the same cards. Well, he doesn't know I'm going to play this card. I'm going to save this card for this card. You know what I mean? He doesn't know I'm going to use this card for this card. Oh, I'm going to save this card. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever. Remember if you like the videos, like, sub, comment, share. Support the channel if you want. Appreciate it. Thanks. The end.